Hello friends, this is Jim with Science Talk. I'm going to discuss with you in this segment about the worldwide temperatures and how their rising is nearing danger levels. I just did a video segment. I was talking about, what's happening, what could happen to insects, plants, and so forth if the projected increase in temperature reaches 3 degrees C. Well, if it does reach 3 degrees C, not to put a fine point on it, we're screwed. I'm just being blunt. We're screwed. So, temperatures have already increased 1 degree C. This new study is indicating that if temperature just rose another half a degree C, the consequence will be catastrophic for millions of the poorest people. So basically, this new research is saying there's only a half a degree C safety margin left, and then the most vulnerable group of people will suffer severely. So, yes, the Climate Accord said we'll try to keep the temperatures, no more than 1.5, but really no more than 2 degrees from pre-industrial temperatures. Well, we're already more than halfway there. We're already increased by 1 degree C. So there's a huge difference in the consequences to humanity if the 1.5 C limit is exceeded and temperatures reach 2 degrees C. So it's going to be bad from 1 to 1.5, but if it goes from 1.5 to 2, and then some of these other studies, well, we're on a projection to hit 3, well, we're just screwed. Earth will be okay. We are in the middle of a sixth major mass extinction event, but the planet will recover, organisms will recover, the niches will fill, evolution will take place, and so on. It's basically what happens to humanity and civilization. Research to identify climate vulnerability hotspots have found that if the global temperature does rise by 2 degrees C, then the number of people affected by multiple climate change risks could double the number affected by a rise of 1.5 degrees C. And of course, this will increase the number of climate refugees. People living in poverty are much more vulnerable to climate change impacts. Knowing where and how many of them are at high risk matters for developing policies to improve their lives. So the researchers investigated the overlap between socioeconomic development and a range of climate change risks in an attempt to try to identify the vulnerability hotspots if global mean temperatures should rise by 1.5 degrees C, 2 degrees C, or 3 degrees C by 2050, and then compare it with the pre-industrial baseline, which would be acting as a control. So we have researchers from a number of organizations, and let me share them with you. The International Institute for Applied Systems Analysis, the IIASA, the Global Environment Facility, GEF, the UN Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO, which I think in Spanish means United, and the Universities of Oxford in the UK and University of Washington in the US. They report in the journal Environmental Research Letters that they developed 14 impact indicators in several main sectors: water, energy, food, and environment. These indicators include water stress index, water supply seasonality, clean cooking access, heat stress events, habitat degradation, and crop yield changes. Water stress index, a little word on what that means. Basically means the availability of clean water, and if it's not available or available in very low quantity, then that's a stress on the system. Water supply seasonality, how it changes, you have dry seasons, wet seasons, that kind of stuff. Clean cooking access should be heat stress events, habitat degradation, crop yield changes, are pretty much self-explanatory. So what did they do? In 2011, an estimated 767 million people were living on less than $2 a day. That was classified as extreme poverty. Researchers estimated that 3.5 billion more people were vulnerable to poverty, living on less than $10 a day. Now, this is a channel that deals with science, but I can't help but throw a little political thing here. You have basically 4.3 billion people living, living on less than $10 a day. You've got a guy, Jeff Bezos, who's worth well over $100 billion. You have 6 individuals with more wealth than half the planet combined. Just think if how much more could be done with that money. I mean, how much money does a person need? Let's think of all the good that can be done with that. Develop renewable technologies, education, whatever. I just find that appalling. I find that really unacceptable. Anyway, so back to the report here. This research was led by Edward Byers of the IIASA Energy Program. He said, few studies have consistently investigated so many overlapping climate and developmental challenges. The multi-sector risk he and his colleagues studied is one where the risk goes beyond tolerable in at least 2 of the several main sectors. At lower temperatures, hotspots occur primarily in South and East Asia, but with higher global temperatures, hotspots spread further to Central America, West and East Africa, the Middle East, and the Mediterranean. There are some studies that have examined this, specifically looking at the Middle East, and they state by 2050, 2060, the Middle East will, if temperatures continue doing what they're doing, the Middle East will become uninhabitable. Temperatures will be so hot. I think I saw, temperatures averaging anywhere from 135 degrees Fahrenheit to 140, 142 degrees Fahrenheit on a consistent, regular basis. At 1.5 degrees Celsius of warming, 16% of the probable population of the world in 2050, 1.5 billion people, will have moderate to high levels of multi-sector risk. At 2 degrees C, this almost doubles to 29% of the global population, or 2.7 billion people. At 3 degrees C, it almost doubles again to 50% of the global population, 4.6 billion people. Basically what it's saying is all these people are going to be at increased risk. They're going to be not able to have, for example, water, or there's going to be crop failure, so there might be a food supply issue. Now, if these things do happen, then quite bluntly, there's going to be mass die-off. That's just because we have a finite surface, we have a growing population, coupled with the growing energy use. So now we'll come down to we got to use the land to house people, but also grow food. But the amount of usable land to grow food is dwindling, as is the amount of usable land to build structures for people to live in. So this is not good, and this can have the result of a massive die-off of people. So depending on the scenario, that 91 to 98% of the exposed and vulnerable population live in Asia and Africa. Half of these live in South Asia alone, but Africa is likely to face greater risk as the least developed region with high social inequality. Now, this research should be relevant to policymakers and others looking to understand the benefits of keeping the average global temperature rise to 1.5 rather than 2 or 3 degrees C, as well as providing insights into the regions most at risk across different sectors. And this is a statement from Astrid Hillers, who's a senior environmental specialist at GEF. Kiwan Riai, who is IIASA's Energy Program Director, said, "The research indicates locations where meeting the Sustainable Development Goals is not only important but challenging, and shows the substantial importance of targeted poverty reduction that is required in some regions to reduce vulnerability." And again, this goes back to my statement about basically the massive income inequality that's worldwide. So, basically, civilization is going to start seeing what's happening. What's the cliche, and the chickens come home to roost? This is going to happen quite soon. We're seeing things in the natural world. I report with you stories of what's happening in the environment with ice, sea ice, glacier ice, oceanic temperatures, and so forth. I share with you what's going on in the physical world. Well, now I'm also bringing with you what this means for humans, what this means for organisms, and so forth. So, this is just a brief summation. It's a detailed report, but I wanted to basically hit the main take-home points of this study. Thank you for your time. We'll talk again. Hey folks, just a reminder to please subscribe and click the bell so you know when I drop a video. Please share my videos. Please tell others of my channel and of the work that I do. I also hope that you will consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/Science Talk with Jim Massa, where from time to time I upload videos there exclusively for my patron subscribers. Details in the description box below. Thanks.